Let's talk about something we can all relate to: dating. But what happens when a country's entire economy starts to affect something as personal as a night out? Well, that's exactly what's been going on in Ghana, where a simple dinner date is suddenly becoming, well, a luxury. So, let's kick things off with a question for you. Imagine you're in Accra, Ghana's capital. You're planning a nice, casual dinner for two. Nothing too crazy, just a regular restaurant. What number pops into your head? Go on, take a guess. How about 1,000 Ghanaian cedis? Yeah, that's the figure we're looking at. For a lot of people, that number comes as a real shock. It's the new reality, and it's making people seriously rethink their social lives. So how on earth did we get here?
Right, so that 1,000 CD date has become a sort of new benchmark. And this isn't some slow, gradual change we're talking about. It's been a pretty dramatic and recent shift in what's considered affordable for the average person who just wants to go out and have a nice time.
And this is the key thing to get. We're not talking about super high-end, five-star dining experiences. Not at all. We're talking about the everyday stuff, grabbing brunch, meeting for cocktails, or having a cozy dinner. These simple pleasures are the things that are now becoming luxuries that people have to budget for, or just skip altogether. So how did a date night get to 1,000 cedis? Well, the change was fast, and it was big. Let's really look at the difference between just a few years ago and now. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's staggering. A few years back, you could go out for a decent meal for two in Accra and expect to pay around 500 cedis. Today, that exact same kind of meal is going to set you back 1,000 cedis, if not more. The price has literally doubled. And listen to what food blogger Zubaida Abdurrahman has to say. She points out that GHC 500 used to be enough for a meal at a fancy restaurant. Now, if you want that same fancy experience, you could be looking at over 2,000 cedis. And as she says, that's a level of disposable income that most people just don't have. Okay, let's make this even more real. Pape is a super popular fast food chain in Ghana, a real go-to. In 2020, a plate of their fried rice and chicken cost 26 cedis. Fast forward to today, it's shot up to between 70 and 80 cedis. That's more than a 100% price hike in just a couple of years. Wow, and this isn't just a few people complaining. The data shows it's a real trend. A social media survey found that over half of the people who responded said they've actively avoided going on dates or eating out just because of the high prices. It's a clear shift in social behavior, driven entirely by cost. So what's behind all of this? The answer isn't just about greedy restaurants. You have to zoom out and look at the whole economy. Around 2022, Ghana was hit by what you could call a perfect economic storm. First, there was record-breaking inflation. It peaked at over 50%. When the cost of everything goes up that fast, the money in your wallet just can't keep up. Its buying power gets totally eroded.
And then, on top of that, the local currency, the cedi, took a nosedive. At its worst point, $1 was worth nearly 17 cedis. Now think about that from a restaurant's perspective. If you're importing ingredients, drinks, or even kitchen equipment, your costs just exploded.
All this economic pressure didn't just hurt customers' wallets. It created a real survival crisis for the restaurants themselves. Let's take a look at the business side of this. And the fallout is real. You can see it on the streets. These aren't just random little spots. These were well-known, popular restaurants in some of Accra's busiest neighborhoods. Brasa, Ocean Basket, Canvas, all of them had to shut down, pointing to the incredibly tough economic climate. So businesses were basically caught in a trap. They were facing these soaring costs for absolutely everything, from cooking oil to rent, and that left them with an impossible choice. Either you absorb those costs and risk going out of business, or you pass them on to your customers and risk losing them. For many, it was a no-win situation. But hey, people are creative, right? When going out for dinner becomes too expensive, you find other ways to socialize. And that's what's happened. Young Ghanaians are coming up with all sorts of fun, more affordable alternatives. So instead of that 1,000 cedi dinner, the new date night is looking a bit different. People are flocking to things like sip and paint events, or they're going bowling, playing a round of mini golf, or hitting up quiz nights at local pubs. The whole culture is shifting from being centered around food to being centered around experiences. And that brings us to the heart of it, really. It all comes together under a famous Ghanaian phrase that perfectly captures the cultural pressures that are still lingering under the surface. And here's Zubaida Abdulrahman again, hitting on a really key social dilemma. Even with this tough economic reality, there's still this cultural expectation that if someone likes you, especially early on, they're supposed to impress you by taking you out to a nice restaurant. And this is the core conflict today. Ghana's economy is actually starting to recover. Inflation is down, the exchange rate is more stable, but those menu prices, they haven't really come down yet. So people are caught in this awkward spot between the social pressure to spend and the very real, very high cost of doing it.
Which leaves us with this powerful and very common Ghanaian phrase, there's always rice at home. On the surface, it's just a practical statement, a gentle reminder of a simpler option. But in this whole context, it says so much more, doesn't it? It captures the practicality, the creativity, and also the complex new reality of dating in Accra today. It makes you think, what's the version of that phrase where you live? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining this explainer.